Guys. Hey, somebody's there. What's going on? I'm here to answer your questions in all my casual glory. So ask away. I'm getting these notifications on Facebook because I just posted how you can win free registration. So, yay, that's getting some activity. So I'll just answer some questions, whether you ask them or not. So the conference is March 31st and April 1st. It is the sixth annual SM Tulsa Conference presented by Social Media Tulsa. And this year we have, wow, 25, including me. So 25 speakers from all over the country and, of course, local speakers coming in to talk about topics that you guys said you wanted to know more about. Or at least to get some more information on. Right? One of the things that I think people tend to, I don't know, maybe object to or maybe have some trepidation about registering for the conference is, what happens at our conference. One of the things, I'm just noticing how dirty that ceiling fan is above my head. So sorry about that little OCD moment. Anyway, so one of the things that I want people to know is, the conference, while it's packed with you know, speakers who are doing the work and people who are really in the trenches of social marketing and digital marketing, email, ebooks, book writing. I mean, these are people who are really doing the work. Hey there. And, our conference is like everything else in Tulsa, right? We want to have a good time. It's designed for you to be comfortable while you're learning and networking. So social is a huge part of our social business conference. That's why it's not called a social media conference, even though a lot of our topics are specific to this particular medium. Um, we want to make sure we're focusing more on people's ability to be social, right? And when I say people, I mean brands, personal brands, individual brands, big brands, small brands. So to be social. So that's why I'm really excited about this year's lineup. Um, you know, Curtis Midkiff, one of the early people who submitted to speak. I'm just so impressed and honored that he found our conference and wanted to join us. But he is the social business consultant analyst, if you will, for Southwest Airlines. That's pretty huge for our little local conference. And then Mark Horvath from InvisiblePeople.tv. And remember, Mark, this isn't Mark's first time to Tulsa. He came and visited us, I think it was 2011. So right after we started Social Media Tulsa and things were booming, Mark was on his tour in Chevrolet, I think it was, and he was coming back through, and we just kind of arranged for him to come to Tulsa. But he visited the day center and one of the other facilities for homeless people in Tulsa. And so, he interviewed a father and daughter, Mike and Taylor was her name. She was 6 years old at the time. So I'll give you a little update on Mike and Taylor. I did ask the Salvation Army Day Center if there was any news or updates on them. And her response to me was, they moved out and moved on and haven't looked back. So I'm really, really happy to hear that Taylor and her dad were able to get out of that particular situation. And I just pray that they are in a great place and have found homes. So Mark's coming. Rob Hatch. I mean, you guys don't. I don't think anybody really understands the caliber of people who are coming to. Not just the caliber of people who are already in Tulsa, who are just complete rock stars, but even the people who are coming to Tulsa. So Rob Hatch and is one of the co-founders of Owner Media. You guys probably know Chris Brogan a little bit more, just because Chris is I don't know, maybe one of the more outgoing speakers. But if you get either Chris's email newsletter or Rob's newsletter, you know that they are both, they're both very smart dudes, and just absolutely have a wealth of knowledge about how to get done in today's really busy world, and how we're able to take all this stuff. So Rob's sole responsibility at SMTULSA Conference is to help us take the 2 days worth of tons and tons of information and put it into action. So his talk, Put Success in Your Way. Remember, Becky did a version of it a few years ago, and then I did a version of it last year. But Rob is the originator, so I'm so honored that he's going to be coming here to give the talk and to really help us focus and get our all the stuff we learned, because over the 2 days it's really overwhelming, and I will admit that to anybody. But if you focus on the stuff that you need to get done, and I know a lot of people kind of come into the conference with this, what can these people tell me that I don't already know? And it's not about that, because we all work in this space, right? We all have to use these tools, and there's no way we can know everything. So the purpose of the conference is to, just like any other professional conference, is to get people, to take you, out of your situation, but then even just focus on, hey, Mark, even just focus on, what the stuff is that you've got to get done, right? What are your goals? What do you have to do? What are you trying to do in your workplace, for your brand, for your personal brand? And listen to some of these people talk about their experiences. I saw Rick's tweet that wish he had a submarine. So, people are talking about how they are rocking these tools to make things happen for them and their businesses. So Mark just came in for a little bit, and those of you who know, Mark was the Tulsan of the year, the Oklahoman of the year. Mark, if you're still watching, thank you. But Mark was really instrumental. I mean, he's the guy who took down the sheriff and the corrupt sheriff department here in Tulsa. And so he'll be talking about social justice and how he was able to galvanize a community that really, to be honest, was not really paying attention to the details. And I mean, guilty as charged for all of us who live here and weren't paying attention to what was happening in this particular department of elected officials. We were re-electing this dude as a community that was, cheating, stealing, doing all kinds of stuff. And Mark was able to rally enough people and get people behind, the petition to even just get a hearing, right? Even to get the case heard. So we're really proud to have Mark talk to us a little bit about what inspired him to even take the stand, because that's usually the first step, right? Is just getting the one person. It just takes one person. And then how he used the tools of the social web to find the community that he found, and his tribe who were able to get around him and the subject matter, and then how they were able to bring everyone else around. My mom walked the neighborhood with the petition, and it was just a beautiful thing to see so many people in the communities just getting behind, hey, we need to know the truth. And so I can't wait to hear Mark's talk about social media for social justice. One of the surveys that we did early in, probably just right after the last conference, actually, was, hey, what do you want to know more about for the next conference? And there were two things that came to the forefront. One was analytics and ROI. So, a lot of our speakers will be talking about return on investment, creating an analytics plan. There's a talk on the science of social media, talking about all this data now that's available that wasn't really available 3, 4, 5 years ago. The tools are getting smarter. Businesses are coming along that are focused on how do you measure this stuff? How do you measure whether or not, having one person watching your Periscope, or the value of using, the replays on Periscope, or taking the Periscope to, uploading it to YouTube. What's the value of all of these things? So we've got a couple of speakers, a few speakers who will be talking about analytics and how you measure and how you create an analytics plan. Because, those of you who work for businesses and brands, corporations, you're responsible to report what it is that you do, particularly if your job is social media manager, you're responsible for reporting some sort of data that says what you're doing and the effort that you're putting forth, the money that it costs for you to do your job and to market the brand, and how that impacts the bottom line. So, we're focused a lot this year from the conference standpoint on, how do you measure those things, okay? And the other thing that came out, and I know I'm kind of rambling, so I apologize for that. So if you have questions, feel free to @SMTULSA me, or you can @Party Aficionado me, and I'm more than happy to answer questions. But the other thing that came out of that survey was the topic of how to create content without a content team, right? So if you don't have staff, how do you get, content created? And so I was trolling the South by Southwest panel picker. I do that. I'm sorry. That's how I get a lot of the topics and a lot of the speakers for SMTULSA Conference. Those that, if you ask for a topic and somebody hasn't submitted that, then I'll go look for somebody who is doing that particular topic. And so social media content marketing without a content team was huge on the list. It was either 1 or 2 behind the analytics. So Kate Hahn, who is coming in from Austin, Texas, and she's going to actually talk about that subject and get a plan of action so that in the next 60, 90 days that you'll be able to, hey, here's what we need to do. Here's a plan of action. So we have some notepads. You can take old school notes if you want to, or I highly encourage you to bring your laptop or your tablet or whatever it is that you're going to use or you need to use to take notes. That's always a great idea. The other thing, topic that people want to know about is are things like Periscope. When we're on, Marty Coleman is going to be talking about Periscope, and Snapchat. We're going to talk probably a lot about Snapchat, and not particularly as a subject matter, but a lot of the talks will include Snapchat. In particular, Nick Marino will be talking about Snapchat because he's going to be talking about millennials and social media, which I think, those of us who have clients who are, in that 13 to 18-year-old or even 20-something-year-olds, we've all heard the story that Snapchat, WhatsApp, WeChat, all those, really emerging sites are what is most attractive to millennials, and that they're all moving away from Facebook. I don't know that I buy into that, but I do buy into the fact that Instagram, Snapchat, WhatsApp, WeChat are the emerging trends among younger people who don't necessarily want to have a public page full of things that you can go look at after the fact, right? They want to communicate with their friends and even maybe communicate publicly, but they don't want that to be their digital legacy, right? So those of us who've been on Facebook for years or Twitter for years, we have a digital footprint that goes back as long as long as we've been on it. And a lot of young people don't necessarily want that. We've been telling them for so long to watch what they post. So these sites that promote one-on-one or more, private, or your friends, are definitely more appealing to them. And and as parents, you need to know about those as well as from a brand standpoint. So Nick will be talking about that, and I'm sure we'll talk more about it just on one-on-one. In fact, you'll be able to connect with us on Snapchat during the conference and send us your snaps. And so even our name badges, we'll talk a little bit about Snapchat. So everything about the conference is an experience in social. So even if there's not a particular talk about a topic, we'll be experiencing it. So we'll be, people will talk about Snapchat. We'll be Snapchatting. We'll ask you to send in your snaps. Twitter, we'll be hashtagging everything. And so we'll talk a little bit more about Twitter just in general. And then, of course, as part of analytics, content creation. So, I'm not trying to ignore individual platforms, but understanding that Mandy likes to say, be platform agnostic. Create content and then decide where the content goes on which platform, right? So think short form video, long form video. Now, where do those go? Do they go on YouTube? Do they go on Instagram or Vine? So, instead of thinking about the platform, think about the types of content that you and your team can do best. And then platform, hey, put them everywhere or put them on the specific places that you and your team decide to be. So anyway, I know I've rambled on long. You guys might be trying to figure out what's that picture behind me. So I'll give you a little personal story. That is a picture of my grandfather's great-grandmother and two of her children by her slave owner. And the story in the family is the boy died, but the girl's descendants still live in Arkansas, in the little town where my mom grew up and where my grandparents lived. So we have cousins all around, but that was a picture that was always in my grandma's house, and we had it saved. So you can see kind of the white part at the bottom is where the picture was degrading. But the frame is original, and the picture is probably from sometime around the 1800s. So anyway, that's kind of why they're looking over. Those are my ancestors looking over my shoulder in everything I do. So I really hope you guys will come to the conference, and I want you to feel comfortable being there. And it is an investment, but I think a small investment, particularly compared to some of the prices of other conferences. Not saying they're not worth it, but we're trying to meet the targets that we're in, and so hopefully you'll see some value in what we're doing here in Tulsa. All right, so thanks guys. I'm gonna sign off now, and have a great Saturday.